Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
All right. Ayana, is it?
Yes.
All right. All right. Before we get started, did you need anything to drink or?
No.
No? Okay. Well, tell me how you're doing today.
I'm a little nervous.
What are you nervous for?
Well, I've never really told anybody about my problems, so it's...
Well, you know what? When I was your age, I didn't tell anyone about my problems either. But one thing I did learn is that I could not keep it in and live a prosperous life. I couldn't keep it in between the four walls any longer. And the second I started to reach out and let myself go is when my whole world turned around. So I'm not here to pressure you into telling me anything you don't want to tell me. I'm here to listen.
I just don't want to be judged. You look like somebody good to judge.
I do? What makes you say that? How do you feel like I'd be someone to judge you?
I don't know.
You just judge me. You do realize that, right?
I do, but I could judge you.
You can?
I could judge you because...
Okay, well, I'm just curious. Why do you think that?
I don't know. It because of what we're about to talk about, a lot of people do judge me when they figure out what's going on in my life. So it's
that's why you don't like to bring it out to people, because the few you have, it's been a bad experience.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you know I've been through some things too, and I am in no place to judge you. Okay. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, on that note, what brings you in today?
I have an addiction.
Okay.
That I'm not too proud of. And I'm afraid that if my addiction continues to go on, that something bad could really just happen to me. I'm addicted to sex.
So with your addiction, what is that bad thing that you believe is going to happen? Because I see you getting teary-eyed. What is that? What is that image that's happening in your head right now?
I mean, multiple things could happen. Like, I could get a disease that is incurable. I can get kidnapped and sent to like a sex trade type thing. Like, there's a before of things that can happen.
So these consequences that you just named, how would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, weigh the importance of those consequences
Compared to sex?
No, in general. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, how much weight does that hold as being something terrible that would happen to you? All of those things you named.
I mean, it's pretty bad. I could say 7.
A 7? So a 7, like you said, is pretty bad. So my question to you is, knowing the severity of those consequences you just named, those images you see in your head, what causes you to continue to have sex?
I don't know. I don't feel like myself. I don't have it. Like, it's like that piece of candy or that piece of cake that you need to after a long day to just like get you back in the here and the now, to calm you, to relieve your stress. It's something that just makes me feel whole. And if I don't have it, everything is just not together.
So when you said makes you feel whole, that means it completes you. Do you really believe that it completes you? It makes you who you are? Something that makes you so complete has such severe consequences.
I mean, at the time, it's just like during sex, at the time, it's just me and how I make, well, not how I make my body feel, but it's just me and how I feel, how all the emotions that's going through, all the feelings and sensations. But afterwards, it's just like, if I don't know that person, it kind of all just like comes crashing down. But at the time, it's just such a beautiful thing.
Now, is it a beautiful thing even when it's with someone you don't know?
I think at moments like those, I just kind of shut down and turn my brain off and think about the sensation.
Okay. Well, we're both women, and your story is actually a little similar to what I went through in high school and some of college. When I was in high school, like my first time, it wasn't with someone special. I barely knew the guy. I was curious. I was one of the curiosity kills the cat. That's what my mama say. I was one of those kids that were just curious because no one ever really just sat down and talked to me about sex. You had the sex ed in school, but you still wanted to know what the hype was about. And when I experienced it, in my life, I had some things going on to where I thought the exact same thing. I thought it made me feel whole. I thought it made me feel complete. But it was just a temporary moment of knowing someone wanted me, regardless of if that one was just strictly sexual. The fact that they wanted me was enough for me to keep going back and keep going back and keep going back. Multiple partners. So I understand that feeling of it being a completion, but I don't want you to get that confused with that is actually not, and that is something extremely temporary, and you are making the sensations of sex, you're making those become the beauty of sex when it's not. So I get exactly where you're coming from. And because it's an addiction, and I think you can agree with me that an addiction is it can be a good thing in some cases, but in this one it's probably not. Going back to the consequences that you mentioned earlier. So what can we do to make you feel whole other than sex? Is there anything, any hobbies you have, any hidden talents?
I like to write.
You like to write? Okay, what do you usually write about?
Life. I'm a poet.
And what emotion do you get out of writing?
Like a weight just lifted off my chest. Because some things that I can't just say normally, I say it in my poetry. And sometimes it's hard to just talk to somebody. So writing it down on paper, it helps it a lot.
Alright, so you write poetry. Okay. That's awesome. Would you ever show me some one day? I know we just met each other today, but no, it's cool. I'm not gonna pressure you. Poetry it holds a depth that some people don't understand, you know? So I understand, I get it. But I do want you just to know that there is a complete difference. Like I said, I was you. And I wouldn't have known that there was a difference until I came across that one guy that just gave me everything else emotionally outside of sex. And even not it not just being him, it was part on me as well to realize that that wasn't what makes me complete. It took a lot on me. It took a lot of self-growth. And I am more than confident that you are smart enough to come to that conclusion. Why? Because you came to me and you told me how it makes you feel and the good side, but the first thing you told me was the bad consequences. So I know that you know there's there's a disconnect there. I do want to ask you something, and I know it's gonna require a lot of thought for you. It may not, but I do want to know what turned you to sex. What caused you to have that completion? Because when you say there, it makes you feel whole and complete. That meant prior to that moment of you having sex, you had a void. So what was that void?
When I was younger, I used to get abused from my parents. Whether it was verbally or physically or even emotionally. I just used to get abused. I would come home from a long day at school and my mom would just lash out on me. She'd sit on the couch drinking her bourbon all day. And she just lashed out, tell me that I wasn't shit and I wasn't gonna ever be shit. That I was good for nothing. And that she can't believe that she birthed something like me. And my dad, he was in the army. And so, after he came back from war, he wasn't the same. The first couple of weeks that he came back home, he used to rape me. And my mom would just sit there and watch. He finally got just tired of life. And that one day I came home and he was sitting on the couch, strung out. And he looked at me and said, "No one ain't ever gonna love you. No one, Ayana." And he shot himself.
In front of you? Oh my gosh.
After that, Mom, she just kind of became dead to the world. The beatings came more often. The liquor came more. It was as if I was alone. Didn't have any brothers and sisters. We didn't live by family. And even if we did, Mom wouldn't let me talk to them.
Are you an only child?
No.
Did any of your other siblings receive the same punishment?
My little brother got hit by a car when he was 5, and he died right there on the scene.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me tell you something, Ayana. I don't want you to go another day thinking that any of this is your fault. I don't want you to believe anything your parents have said, because it's not true. It's not true at all. I do want you to understand that your father had a problem. You understand? He had a problem. And I'm not sure if you heard of when someone is in the military and they come back home. It's called PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm. So you've heard of it. It wasn't even his fault. It wasn't even his fault, and it's definitely not your fault. When it comes to your mom, she has a problem. We both, at this point, aren't sure what it was, what has happened in her life, maybe prior to you, that drove her to where she is now, or even where she was back then when she was abusing you. But she has something going on up here that doesn't have anything to do with you.
I just came from a family of fuck-ups.
But do you understand, regardless if you feel that way, that you're not one? Do you realize you're still in your right mind? You're addicted to a physical thing. Your problem hasn't even hit you mentally. And I feel like you can that is something compared to a mental issue. You can overcome this. So what I want you to do, because you're all teary-eyed and you've just been crying, and I don't want you to cry no more, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today, okay? And I do want you, I'm writing down my number for you, and I want you first to go to a Sex Anonymous class, meeting, whatever you want to call it. And I want you to come back to me and tell me how that made you feel, if it was beneficial for you, if you felt comfortable or not. Tell me anything that you got from that meeting. And I also want you to see one of our counselors, our therapists. I'm going to schedule these for next week. And just for me and you, I know earlier you mentioned you write poetry, and I think it would be a great idea. I know you don't know me worth a can of paint right now, but we don't have to do it anytime soon. It can be later on when you get to know me. It's all up to you. We can do it next week. It's up to you. But I do think it would be a great idea if we went to Apache. And Apache is a restaurant. They do spoken word. They do poetry. They have musicians. They have the whole nine. They have the artist that paints while someone's doing their spoken word. They have it all. And I think that would benefit you a lot, because I saw how bright your face got when you talked about your poetry. So, I am terribly sorry about what you have had to endure. But at the same time, I'm glad you went through it, because it's made you the person you are today. And I don't know about you, what you see in the mirror. I see a strong woman who made it through all of that and can come to me and her only problem be something physical. Which it does come into emotion and mental, but we can work on that. Do you believe that? Okay, so we're gonna call it a night, and you're gonna come back over here, right? You're not just gonna leave me wondering what happened to you, right?
I'm gonna come back.
All right, give me love. All right, so we'll see you later, okay?
All right.
All right.